Welcome. So, at least, well, I'm starting this late. At least the game in California did not go to overtime or a shootout. It's always my concern. And only because I know this video is going to post late anyways. So, thinking, let's not have the overtime and the shootout, so post even later. But we will get to California. First, we're going to start off on the East Coast with Florida at home against Dallas. And I mean, I was concerned about Dallas. I don't think anything happened tonight to make me less concerned about Dallas. Early chances for the Panthers. Como ends up scoring from Robertson at 4:29. Got my scoring wrong. I knew I put... Anyways. Robertson at 4:29, so that made it 1-0. The Panthers then get a power play. It's a dangerous looking power play, but the Stars do kill it off. The Florida Panthers power play did not score tonight. So then the Stars end up getting a power play, and shorthanded, we get chances for Lammikko. Multiple chances for Lammikko. There was a puck then to the back of Hintz's neck, but he's okay. We emerge from the first period and Dallas is up 1-0, but Florida's getting better as the first period goes along. So second period, early on, Hornqvist had a chance that was denied. Shots are 3-1 Panthers at 5 minutes. It would not get better for Dallas. Power play for the Panthers. Very strong power play for them. Hudobin was really the difference. Hudobin was the only reason this game wasn't a massive blowout in favor of the Florida Panthers. The Stars were stuck on one shot. Panthers were completely in control. Hudobin stops Weegar, and then he can't stop all of them. Weegar passes over to Ekblad. Ekblad gets the sixth of the year from Weegar and Huberdeau at 8:41. So it's a 1-1 tie. And again, if you're watching this, you're like, okay, well, maybe Dallas can eke one out because their goaltender's trying to steal one. Panthers get a power play. Hornqvist net crashing. Hudobin making some saves. Stars were honestly, and I wrote it right on the board, lucky it's not 5-1 in favor of the Panthers at that point. Panthers just swarming, shot after shot after shot. Hudobin making tons of saves. There was a rare shot for Foxa that was saved. I decided it was important enough to put on the board when Dallas got a shot because it was so rare. And then Yandel scores at 18-18. That puts Florida up 2-1. And then the Panthers tried for another. They just kept pouring it on, and it was a ton of shots in that second period in Florida's favor. Third period, the Panthers hit 40 shots, while Dallas had only had 14. Remember, this game's 2-1. So, again, you feel kind of fortunate Dallas is in this at all. Shots were actually 5-5 through the first half. Stars press at 11 minutes. You could kind of see that they sensed that they might be able to steal one. Hudobin reached a save record for himself. It looked like he'd gone past 49, and then they took a save away from him. So whether or not that save comes back later and they adjust the shots, but they adjusted him down so that he doesn't actually set a new record for himself personally. But it was like watching Ron Tugnut out there. Goaltender gets pulled with 2 minutes left. Stars just couldn't set up with the extra man, and then Barkov gets the empty net goal at 19:32. And so Florida comes out with the victory. They're 12-3-2. Dallas is now 5-4-4. Interestingly enough, after their last game, I put the record as 5-4-4. It was wrong, but it's not wrong now. The shots were 11-10 Florida in the first, 29-4 in favor of Florida in the second, and 12-11 Florida in the third. Final shots 52-25. Thank you, Hudobin. I am sorry that the team didn't really do a lot to support you. Power plays, Dallas 0-1, Florida 0-3. Hudobin saves 49 out of 41 to tie a career high, and Drieger saves 24 out of 25. Because, yeah, there were two goalies in this game, but you would be forgiven for not knowing who was in net for Florida through most of the second period. You'd be completely forgiven, and for Dallas, it's their first game back, but they have to play a lot of games over a very short period of time. We have 11 weeks until the season ends, according to right now anyway, so 77 days from today. This team doesn't look like they're necessarily going to be in the playoffs. This division's going to be tough. All right, moving along. Tampa. I said going into this game, I said, all right, when I did the power rankings, I said I wanted to see how things were going to go between Tampa and Carolina tonight. And here's why. because if I'm doing the flip flop and putting Carolina up to the top, then after tonight I have to flop it back, right? So I don't like doing that. So I was like, all right, if Carolina's really and truly better than Tampa, we'll see if that's the case tonight. And these teams are so well matched. I am absolutely thrilled that we get 8 matchups between these two teams. It's one of the best matchups in the league. So our early chances for the Bolts, they end up with a power play. And the power plays coming into this game were scoreless for both teams. Both teams had not scored a power play goal. That would change for both of them on this night. Reimer denied Maroon. The shots were 5-1 Tampa at 4.5 minutes. And it reminded me of the Canucks out of the gate last night, where you could see they really wanted the victory. The difference being Tampa's not really in a must-win situation yet. They're winning before they get to that. Reimer doing Snow Angels to keep the puck out. The first half was all Bolts. Power play then. Solid penalty kill for the Canes, and so Tampa drops to 0 for 2 in the game. The Canes then get a power play. There was a shorthanded chance for Coleman during that power play. And then on a rebound, Jesper Fast scores. This was not on the power play. But Nachas and Bean with the assists at 13:27. Bean is on the board a few times over the last week and a half. Canes were then getting chances after the goal, and the Bolts weren't getting shots in the second half, so they dominated the first half. They were up 11-1 in shots, and then the next 6 shots, the final ones in that period, all went to Carolina, and it felt like, okay, so Carolina got through whatever Tampa was throwing at them, and now it's going the other way. Second period. Early on, the Bolts get a power play. Hedman had a chance that went high, but the next one would go in. Stamkos with the power play marker from Hedman and Palat at 2:26. Vasilevsky then denied Lawrence at 6 minutes, and then Hedman makes it 2-1. He scores from Sergachev and Stamkos at 7 minutes and 12 seconds. So Hedman with a goal and an assist, Stamkos with a goal and an assist, and Tampa's suddenly ahead 2-1 in a game that at the end of the first kind of was starting to feel like the last game. Bolts then kept pushing. They pushed for another. A better formation tonight by the Bolts. Really smart, disciplined game from Tampa, and very good defensive coverage. With 1:57 left, however, the Canes get a power play, and they would score on it. It's Jesper Fast scoring his second of the game from Pesce and Hamilton at 19:15. And then, I really don't like the face-off violation call. This might be the first time I've seen it where a power play goal happens, and then they call a face-off violation on the face-off that ensued from the goal. And so Braden points in the box, and he wasn't a happy camper, and I don't really blame him. So the Canes have another power play in the last minute after just scoring on one. So start the third, the Bolts killed off the rest of that power play, which it felt like was really important. If Carolina scores again there, that momentum, once it starts rolling in their favor, they are scary. The Canes did have the momentum after that, but Palat gets tripped. The Bolts get a power play. During that power play, there was a shorthanded chance for Nachas. And this is where Vasilevsky starts to put the team on his shoulders. And he can do this. There's a reason he wins Vezina, and it's not just because of where he plays and because of how many wins the team gets. And there was so much skill from both teams. Again, if you watch games between Tampa and Carolina, it almost feels like an all-star game because there's so much speed and there's so much skill on display from both teams. Bolts press at 8 minutes, and it works. Palat scores from Ruda and Point at 8:04. So the Bolts get it in their zone. They push and they push and they get the game leading goal. Carolina would pull the goalie with 2 minutes left. Bolts kind of guilty of hanging on a little bit. With 54.5 seconds left, there's a timeout called, and the empty netter is from Killorn. Huge weight off his shoulders, finally getting a goal tonight from Chernak at 19 minutes and 20 seconds into the empty net. And so Tampa Bay wins this one 4-2. They go to 11-4-1, and Carolina drops to 12-4-1. So look at these three records next to each other: 12-3-2, 11-4-1, and 12-4-1. These are the three teams that are going to fight it out for first place in that division. I love it. Shots were 11-7 Tampa in the first, 12-11 Carolina in the second, 17-10 for Carolina in the third. Final shots 36-32 for the Canes. Power plays, Tampa goes 1 for 4, Carolina goes 1 for 3. Vasilevsky saves 34 out of 36. Reimer saves 28 out of 31. Bring on the next one. Yep, bring it on. Let's go. I want to see the next one. As soon as possible, please. Oh, it's on Wednesday? Excellent. Good news. Next up, Buffalo. So, I don't know what to say to Buffalo fans right now, but this isn't great. Now they're playing again tomorrow. So, making up for lost time, They're really got that game. The schedule squashed down nicely. And I don't know, they kind of got stuck in an Islanders game, and yet in the first period they played very, very well. So there's positives if you're a Buffalo fan. Close call for Beauvillier early. Varlamov then stops a chance for Stahl. The Islanders playing well, no breaks. Again, it feels like early on the Islanders were being outshot, but they weren't being outplayed. Power play then for the Sabres. That gets killed off by the Islanders. Varlamov was frustrating the Sabres. Strong first period for them, but it's still scoreless until Lazar scores from Jokiharju and Mittelstadt at 17:15. Reeder exited the game. I didn't see if he came back in. I think he did. But anyways, Toby Reeder was prominent in that first period. Okposo then had a chance that went wide. We go to the second period with Buffalo up 1-0, and they had outshot the Islanders badly to that stage of the game. Early on, Sabres have a power play. It gets killed off, and then beautiful three-way passing leads to a goal. Lee from Eberle and Pulock at 3:56. And, yeah, no chance for Ullmark on that one. Then there's a power play for the Islanders. That's killed off. The Sabres were taking shots from all over the ice. It felt like the Sabres, any shot was a good shot, and for the Islanders, they were looking for the good, higher opportunity chance. So the shots, again, not telling the whole story at that point in the game. Ullmark stops a chance for Beauvillier, as the Islanders, up until then, only had 6 shots in the first 35 minutes of the game. That's when you say, maybe you're trying to be too fine with the shots. Maybe take a couple of more. So Beauvillier gets that one. Pajot then had a near miss on a break. And in the last minute, the Islanders had some chances. They would outshoot Buffalo, barely, in the second period, but they did. We go to the third. Martin, early, from Green and Cizikas at 3 minutes and 1 second. That makes it a 2-1 lead for the Islanders. The Islanders nearly made it 3-1. Sabres buzzing around the net then at the other end of the ice. They get a post, power play for Buffalo. And Dahlin blasted it wide twice. And I thought, if they don't get a goal here, that's going to be bad. Reinhart with kind of a Harlem Globetrotters type shot here. He gets the goal from Dahlin and Olofsson at 5:48. And it was a beautiful goal. I really don't have a way to describe it other than, hey, it was a great goal. Islanders then had some chances that were getting blocked with 6:35 left. The Islanders get a power play, and they score on it. And this is where not getting a point tonight is going to be something that Buffalo really thinks about. Pajot scores the power play marker from Wahlstrom and Leddy at 15:08. That puts the Islanders up 3-2. Well, with less than 5 minutes left, if the Islanders have a lead, they're just going to choke out the game. Goalie pull with a minute and a half left. Varlamov denied Dahlin, so Dahlin did have a chance. And they call a timeout with 26.1 seconds left. Whatever they discussed in the timeout, it did not work. Your final score is 3-2 in favor of the Islanders. They go to 9-6-3. The Buffalo Sabres dropped to 5-8-2, and it's getting into the territory of better luck next year. And I dislike it as much as Happy Gilmore when he fights the coach there. I understand why. Better luck next year is a horrible thing to say to Buffalo fans right now because it's been a while. And, yeah. The shots in this one were 12-3 Buffalo in the first. Very good first period. 8-7 Islanders in the second. In the third, Buffalo outshoots them 17-12. Final shots 36-23 in favor of Buffalo. Power plays, Buffalo 1 for 3. The Islanders 1 for 2. Ullmark saves 20 out of 23. Varlamov saves 34 out of 36. They still have nice jerseys though. Buffalo's new jerseys are fantastic. They're really nice. And so, like, if New Jersey wears the reverse retros tomorrow, did I hear New Jersey's wearing the reverse retros? Maybe that's a chance, because reverse retros don't have a good record. And I was, the funny thing is, I was even going to track that this year, and then I thought, I won't really bother. I really wish I had, because unless you have 2 reverse retros against each other, they seem to have a really bad record. Tonight, though, there really wasn't any of that on the first 4 games. But we'll get to games where they showed up. It didn't go well. Speaking of not going well, so a couple years ago, there used to be a power rankings curse. So for long-time subscribers, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? A team would be first on the power rankings, and they would have a brutal week. They'd lose games, they'd have a brutal week. And it got to the point where people would say, oh, don't put our team at number 1. We've had a good, please don't put us at number 1, because then we're going to have a rough week. I provide Exhibit A for this year, and I'll see whether or not that's still a thing. Toronto. I don't see how my power rankings has any effect, but I also don't see how me wearing a jersey or not wearing a jersey has an effect, so why not? Sports fans are super superstitious. Thus the reverse retro jinx and curse, right? So, opening shift chance for Tkachuk, and right out of the gate, Calgary was good, and that might have been what threw Toronto off tonight. Calgary's usually really bad the first period. Bennett scores from Anderson and Monahan at 3:55. For some reason, I put that Monahan assist over here. No idea why. Shots are 5-1 for the Flames at 6 minutes. And all I could think was, this is backwards. Did they switch jerseys? Because Calgary's always bad to start the game. That's kind of something you can rely on. Good power play for the Leafs happens. No goals, but 2 shots. So the Leafs power play looked good early. And so on. Power play number 2 for the Leafs. Hutchinson would deny Hannafin after that power play was over because that power play didn't do much. And Hutchinson had a half-decent game. Strong first period for the Flames. Spezza had a chance it was stopped. And then with 35 seconds left, the Flames get a power play. So we go to the second period with the Flames on the power play. During that power play, Mikheyev had a shorthanded break. Riddick saved that. Riddick had one of the best games he's ever played tonight. Just insane. Good back and forth after the penalty kill ends. The Leafs go back to the power play, and on that one, no shots. So, power plays are a weird thing, right? Where you can see, like, they get a couple of chances on one, they get a couple chances on the next, and then they get nothing on the next one. And then it'll start bothering them. They're maybe trying for that perfect pass, that perfect shot. And that's how a great power play can kind of take a bit of a nosedive. Valimaki actually had a shorthanded chance during that power play. Power play then for the Flames, shorthanded chance for Spezza. I don't know what it is with shorthanded chances recently. I think to me it's the fact that you see teams now, almost every team employs the 4 forwards and 1 defenseman. Sometimes it's 5 forwards. I think that leads to more shorthanded chances than we would have otherwise. But Tkachuk scores on that power play. Yep, from Giordano and Gaudreau at 9:28. And about halfway through the game, it's 2-0 for Calgary. I'm just as surprised as you are. Flames get another power play right after that penalty kill. The Leafs are back to the power play because this was the game that had all the power plays in it. 1:36 left, or actually we had 1:36 of 5-on-3 for the Leafs. And this is really where I think the turning point is. You have a 5-on-3 for a minute and a half. You have to score. They don't. They get 2 shots. And Calgary killed it off very, very well. Excellent penalty kill by the Flames. Then with 1:44 left, they called a penalty on Dermott. And all I hear is him yelling, "I didn't bleeping do anything." There was no bleep. It was entertaining. I had a good chuckle. I guarantee you that Dermott's still not laughing about that. And I guarantee you Toronto fans weren't either. There were some ticky-tack calls. I thought both teams had them, though. So once you know what that standard is, you've got to be ready because those ticky-tack calls are coming. So we go to the third period. Flames early power play. So at that point, there was 5 for each team. And Monahan scores on it. So Calgary's power play was good tonight. Tkachuk and Anderson with the assists at 3:26. So Anderson with 2 assists. Monahan with a goal and an assist in his return tonight. Tkachuk, goal and an assist for him. These are the guys you want to see on the board if you're Calgary. Johnny Gaudreau's not on the board. No problem. Lindholm not on the board. No problem. Riddick making some great saves. Matthews hits a post. There's a power play for the Leafs. They'd also pull the goalie with 3 minutes left. And nothing. The Flames win this. A shutout. 3-0. So Calgary outshoots them 14-9 in the first. Toronto outshot them 17-12 in the second. And then in the third, this is where Calgary impresses me. The shots were only 8-7. What we're starting to see from Northern Division teams, and it's slow, but we're starting to see that defensive shutdown mode in the third period. And so we're not seeing the crazy, wacky 8-5, 9-6, huge comeback scores as often. They're still going to happen, but not as often. So power plays, Calgary goes 2 for 5. Toronto went 0 for 7. That's your story right there. Toronto went 0 for 7. Calgary went 2 for 5. Riddick saves all 34. It's his 4th career shutout. Hutchinson, 30 saves on 33 shots. It's not Hutchinson's fault. The team got shut out. But, yeah, that was an interesting game. And now I have to change boards. All right, on to part 2. All right, it's official. The LA Kings are good. It's also official that the Blues are in trouble. So I've looked at the West from day one as Vegas, Colorado, St. Louis. Those should be the top 3 teams. I still think at the end of the year they should be the top 3 teams, but St. Louis is making me nervous right now. Now, I know St. Louis is having a lot of injury problems, but still. The losses that they're taking right now, it's adding up. And for the Kings, they've now won 5 in a row. Not only that, in those 5 games, they've outscored their opposition 20-6. I think the Kings are legit. We'll see whether or not the Kings are able to keep this up, but they're starting to look like the Kings at the end of last year before the pause that won, 10 out of 11 or 9 out of 11? And people at the time said, they're not for real. You're crazy. Do not underestimate these Kings. Don't. Jonathan Quick's starting to look like he's taken about a decade off his life right now, and I mean that in a good way, that he's 10 years younger. Things get scrummy at 3:13. It's Blues reverse retro night. If your team wore reverse retro, you didn't get a goal tonight. It's weird. Shots were 3-0 for the Blues at 5 minutes. Sanford had a shot that bounced over the net. Kings were at 0 shots 8 minutes in. They were slow starters. They did what the Flames normally do and didn't do tonight. Flames were great. At the half, all of a sudden it was like the Kings just turned it on. Halfway mark, the Kings just turned it on and went, all right, well, yeah, we're ready now. We're good. And from then on, it was kind of their game. Better second half. They end up with a power play, and who scores on the power play? My boy, Gabe Vilardi. He gets the goal from Carter and Grundstrom at 17 minutes and 30 seconds. And so Vilardi, again, he seems to score key goals. He's on a 4-game point streak, too. So it's 1-0 Kings after 1. Second period, Kings press at 3 minutes. Full value in this game, absolutely. Grundstrom had a chance that went high. That was on a Blues turnover. The Blues get a power play. The Kings killed that off and get a power play of their own. It's the only power play the Blues had tonight, and their power play continues to be a story for all the wrong reasons. Dangerous power play for the Kings. It doesn't score. Gunnarsson down, and it appeared that he had jammed his right foot going into the board. So he was going in to make a hit, and it was one of those things where your foot just hits at an awkward angle, and it didn't look good. It looked pretty bad. So hopefully Gunnarsson's not out too long. I haven't looked at the injury report, but add him to the list, I guess. Yeah, so he exited, and the way he wasn't putting weight on his foot makes me think it's probably going to be for a while. Before the end of that second period, another late goal, and it's a Bobby Orr-style goal by Dustin Brown in 1854. I'm not going to recreate it. I'm not. I'd injure myself. And, I mean, I like views as much as the next guy, but I'm not injuring myself trying to recreate. Just, you guys can pause the video and go and watch it, and then after all the wows are done, you can come back and talk to me. But, yeah, Blues definitely struggling in this game. Absolutely struggling in this game. Quick made a nice big last-minute save, and it's 2-0 LA after 2. Third period, Bennington denied Carter. We then had Quick denying Falk, and it kind of became the Jonathan Quick show in the third. Athanasiou had a chance to miss his high. Kopitar goes to the net. Near miss for him. And then Quick stops a Perron chance, a good one. And then Kyrou moments after that. So back-to-back good chances for the Blues. Quick keeps it out. Sanford ends up hitting the post. They pressed it 14 minutes into the period. And they pulled the goalie with 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. Well, that allows Dustin Brown to hit the empty net, his second goal of the night at 18:57. Kings go up 3-0. Perron snapped his stick after that one went into the empty net. He smacked it on the boards and snapped it in half. Quick then robbed Delarose before the game was over to preserve the shutout. So that's 5 in a row, as I said. They're now 8-6-3. St. Louis drops to 10-7-2. And whether you're going by points or whether you're going by winning percentage, St. Louis right now is really starting to have a problem here. And we'll see just how far this goes, because they're not first in the division by points anymore. That now belongs to Vegas, and they're not that far ahead of Minnesota, that far ahead of Colorado. And let's see, you've got 19 points here, 22 points here. They're only 3 points ahead of LA after losing in regulation tonight. So, shots in this one, 12-7 LA in the first, 12-10 LA in the second, 14-7 St. Louis in the third. Both teams had 31 shots in the game. LA goes 1 for 2 on the power play. St. Louis 0 for 1. Jonathan Quick, all 31 saves, get him his 54th shutout. Binnington, 28 saves on 30 shots. In the loss, he played well. Team didn't score. So, team doesn't score. And there were 3 shutouts tonight. So that's impressive. That's something that, 10 years ago I wouldn't bat an eye at. But now it's like, 3 shutouts the same night. That's unusual. All right. Moving along. Vegas. This is the first time they've won in Denver. And we can all use the qualifier of, well, there was no fans in attendance. I don't want to take that away from a team. I don't. And I understand that it's different this year than other years, and we may all use asterisks for all this, but I thought this was an impressive game by Vegas. And for Colorado, wearing those reverse retros, beautiful Nordiques jerseys, I think the big difference was the gray Vegas helmets. They went back to the regular helmets with their gray jerseys, not the goofy gold ones. And they won. So they're 0-2 when they wear the gold helmets. And they won. They're 0-2 with the gold helmets, right? I'm pretty sure they are. And they won when they went back to the regular helmets. So we'll see whether or not they go back to gold when they're at home or what they do. Shots were only 1 apiece at 5 minutes. It was a chess match to begin. Avs stuck on 1 shot. Vegas takes control after that. Vegas were getting some turnovers. Grubauer making some saves to keep this scoreless. The Avs' second shot in the first period was actually in the second half. I think it was like about 6 minutes left. Power play then for Vegas. Avs kill that off. We go to the second period. Early Avs pressure. The big line was reunited during this game, which is Landeskog, Rantanen with McKinnon in the middle. Speed by both teams. Vegas gets their second power play, and they score on it. It's Tuck from Carlson and Pietrangelo at 2:53. The Avs try to answer. Kadri is denied. Kadri had a few very good opportunities tonight. Marc-Andre Fleury denied him every single time. Tuck scores then from Stone at 6:14. Well, kind of. He banks it. He takes the shot. It bounces off the pad of Grubauer and then onto the skate of Byron and off Byram's skate and into the net. So Bowen Byram with an own goal in this one, which is tough because, of course, there was one in the last game that went off his stick and into the net. And I don't know how much of this is just bad luck and how much of this is rookie playing, but it's happened in back-to-back games. Off his skate and in. Vegas blocking shots well in the first half. Vegas then gets a 2-on-1. Grubauer makes the save, but not long after that. It is Marchessault scoring from Carlson and Haig at 11:06. Kind of a 5-hole shot, and I wondered if we might see Grubauer get pulled. We didn't, but I thought at 3-0, I thought maybe they would try to go for that just for the change of momentum, just to try to shake the team up. Vegas then, with more pressure as the Avs at that point, it felt like it really kind of melted down. Then Smith takes a puck in the mouth. That hurts. I recommend not doing that. The Avs not able to get really far in that second period. So we get to the third period. The shots were actually 4-1 for the Avs at 3 minutes, but this is where I guess Fleury knows what Quick did, and he's like, well, I can't let Quick get closer to me in the shutouts. And he did what in the third period? I can upstage that. Riddick got a shutout? Oh, no, I'm not allowing a goal if Riddick didn't allow a goal. So more Fleury saves, and that was after he makes a great save on Rantanen. This was really, vintage play from Fleury, and I'm talking 2016-2017 Fleury here. The Avs press, trying to break the shutout, but Fleury was earning it. I put the word shutout on the board twice. I knew I wasn't jinxing it. Reeves and Calvert were then sent packing for not much. Like, they both got called for roughing, and I'm like, what? Roughing? But referees tonight, you didn't even need to throw a punch to get called for fighting. Yeah, we'll get to that. So, so the final score is 3-0. Vegas goes to 11-4-1. Colorado drops to 9-5-1. And this series has been great. Love it. Absolutely love Vegas, Colorado. Hope they play each other in the playoffs. Fingers crossed on that one. Vegas outshot Colorado in the first 10-8. Outshot them 12-11 in the second. And then Colorado outshot Vegas 15-6 in the third. Final shots 34-28 in favor of Colorado. Vegas 1 for 3 on the power play. Colorado 0 for 1. Fleury saves all 34 shots. So he saved the same amount as Riddick and more than Quick. So he probably called Quick after the game and said, you got your 54th shutout? I got my 64th. There you go. Grubauer saved 25 out of 28. And for Colorado, kind of back to the drawing board. But again, this was a great matchup between two top teams in the league. I love it. Fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, and I didn't expect this, Anaheim and Arizona. Where did this game come from? Like, this, really, honestly, I was worried after the second period I was going to need the mini board. I was going to need to bring up the mini board, but I didn't, because a lot of the action was in the first two periods, and then the third, I don't know, it didn't feel quite as intense. And I think if you're a Ducks fan, that has to be concerning. So first period, Silverberg off a turnover, one-timer at 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Anaheim, I've talked about how they don't score. So getting a goal early like that, break the seal, that's good news, right? Then there's a power play for the Coyotes, and the shots were 6-1 in favor of Anaheim. I know it says Ducks, but it was 6-1 in favor of... No, it was 6-1 in favor of the Ducks. That's right. All right. I'm just not used to the Ducks leading in shots. It's just I see 6-1 Ducks. I'm like, that can't be right, because that's how that works. Kemper stopped a Raquel chance. Zegras was on the power play. He was, and he was prominent tonight. Doesn't get on the board with a point, but he was prominent, and he was being used late in this game as well. 5-on-3 then. Jones ends up getting a goal from Comtois and Fowler at 12:27. There was a scrum after the goal. Kemper was involved in the scrum. He wasn't very happy with Jones for the net crash round and everything, and I don't think Jones was happy with. I think it was Chychrun. There was a lot of stuff going on, and there was a lot of guys unhappy with a lot of other guys, and this was going to escalate. So the Ducks, it seemed like, play well in rough games. And that was something the announcer said. And I thought, yeah, that's true. They seem to play better in the games that are very physical. You might have a couple of fights. When it's a really high-skill, fancy game, they don't seem to do quite as well. Kemper then stopped a chance for Fowler. Coyotes net crash. Gibson making some saves. He denied Larson as the Coyotes pushed. Hayden versus Jones. They called this a fight. John Hayden and Max Jones. I didn't count a punch that landed. That's the first time I've seen 5 for fighting for guys who basically danced and fell down. I could understand 2 for roughing. I did not understand how that was a fight. They even showed the replay, and I was like, "Was there a punch?" There wasn't a punch that landed. Nope. Nope. Even if you could argue one landed a punch, I think Jones tried. I don't think Hayden landed anything. Jones just took him down. The weirdest thing I've seen. So it's almost like Krause and Grant saw that and went, well, that's not a fight. We'll show them what a fight is. So they went out and had a fight, and this one actually had punches involved. And Grant's a brave man, because Krause is big, and he's a strong man. And yeah, that was one of those fights where Grant skated away, and that's a good thing that he skated away and he was okay. Because again, Krause, pretty big kid. Second period. Ducks started it on the power play. Fowler would score after the power play ended from Getzlaff at 1:53. It's 3-0 Ducks. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, the Ducks are having a really good game. The Coyotes have melted down. I didn't see this coming, but maybe there's hope for the Ducks. If they can come out and they can win a big game here, and they can really, really improve their confidence, and they can feel good about themselves. No. All right. Power play then for the Coyotes. There was a post during that power play. They get another power play. Or no, the Ducks got a power play. And then during the Ducks power play, there's a penalty shot awarded 32 seconds later to Dvorak. And Dvorak scored. And there's your momentum switch. Now, they still had 1 minute and 28 seconds left on the power play. But you could feel that penalty shot goal by Dvorak, which is technically a shorthanded goal as well, at 8:15 really turned the game. Because then at 10:21, Brassard scores from Garland. And then a little less than 2 minutes later, Chychrun scores from Kajula and Keller at 12:02. The weird thing is, Chychrun kind of net crashes on it. I understand why they'd want to review it. They're looking for goalie interference. Not there. Whether or not he kicked it in, also not there. The weird thing is, they decided it was a goal, and then the horn sounded, which means Toronto called him. So I'm not sure what Toronto wanted to look at, but they still counted the goal. And the weird thing is, it's not just that the referees reviewed it twice. They never actually went over and spoke on the microphone to say, we've reviewed this for this, and it's a good goal. That's a goal, and it's a tie game. And any momentum the Ducks had is dead. It's just gone. The Coyotes have tore this defense apart, and Gibson all of a sudden looks like he's kind of leaking goals here. So things get kind of scrummy with 3:15 left. These teams not liking each other very much. And going into the third, I thought, man, how many more fights are we going to see? How many more goals are we going to? This is going to be crazy. It really kind of wasn't. So there was a Coyotes power play in the third period, and they score on it. Dvorak, he scores from Chychrun and Keller at 3:52. So Chychrun with a goal and an assist. Keller with a couple of helpers. Dvorak with his second goal. He's got a power play marker and a penalty shot. Made it 4-3. And that really told the story of the game. The interesting thing was Hayward was upset. So Brian Hayward was upset. Both announcers were upset because they felt that Keller had dove to get that power play for the Coyotes. And they felt that the Coyotes were going down pretty easy. And you could tell on replays that they were. I'm going to say this. I agree that there was some relatively easy falls for the Coyotes. But if you're on the ice and you know you can get that call, you do it. As a player, more often than not, and I'm thinking right back to the 80s, if a player thinks that he can get those calls, he does it. They had an old Oilers game on Sportsnet the other day, and I watched as Glenn Anderson dove 3 times in the second period, and he got a power play in at least one of those times. And the third time where he spun before he hit the ice, he got up and he said something to the ref and he just shook his head as he skated away. And the announcers are saying, well, he dove there, but he was upset because the referee didn't bite on it. So that's over 30 years ago. Players were doing it then. So what we see now, and when people are like, that's not very sportsmanlike, it's kind of been a part of hockey for a long time. And in that game, I remembered that's why I didn't like Glenn Anderson. That was it right there. I remembered when I was a kid, I did not like Glenn Anderson. That was it. So I understand people not liking it, but I also understand players doing it, which I, at the time, as a teenager, I did not like it at all. No, you never dive. If you can get a power play, you might. So Steele then had a break that was forced wide. Rowney, he hurt his left leg. He did not return to the game. So for the Ducks, who were already short Hampus Lindholm, and that is a major problem on that defense without Lindholm. They're already short Josh Manson. Now they lose a gritty forward in Rowney. Goalie gets pulled with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. And then the announcer said, Garland goes down and he goes into the boards. And they said, well, one last dive for Connor Garland. I'm like, okay, all right. So I can't wait till these teams play each other again. I really can't. The Coyotes win 4-3. Absolute meltdown from the Ducks that go to 6-10-3. Arizona 8-7-3. The shots were 16-8 Anaheim in the first. 13-6 Arizona in the second, 6-4 in favor of Anaheim in the third. Final shots 28-25 for Anaheim. Power plays, Anaheim 1 for 5, Arizona 1 for 4. Gibson 21 saves on 25 shots, Kemper 25 saves on 28 shots. The interesting thing to me too was Anaheim actually had more power plays than Arizona. So anyways, just thought I'd throw that out there. And there were also people complaining on Twitter about which ones were and weren't being called. And that's hockey. All right, moving along. Last game of the night. Minnesota and San Jose. This was fun. This was fun because, Minnesota, it feels like they're getting on a run too. So you got LA here who are making things interesting in the West. So's LA. Or so's Minnesota. So LA's making it interesting, so's Minnesota. Burns scores early in this one, making it look like this might be a trap game, which is something that the announcers openly talked about. This could be a trap game for Minnesota. Burns scores from Meyer and Balsers at 45 seconds. It was a nice fast break goal. Beautiful goal by Brent Burns, his 4th of the year. Shots were 2-2 5 minutes in, but then Matt Zuccarello, who's been fantastic in his return, he scores from Rask and Kaprizov at 7:49, and then 11 seconds later, that line strikes again. It's Kaprizov from Zuccarello and Soucy at 8 minutes. So 2 goals in 11 seconds. Great 3-way pass on that second goal. No chance for Martin Jones on that one. The Sharks then had a power play, and the Wild managed to kill that. So yeah, power play for the Sharks. Wild killed that off. Kakkonen then had a denial on Vlasic. Vlasic still looking for his first of the year. Sharks get another power play. Donato wanted a goal, being denied in that situation. The penalty kill works. Sorensen, that had a chance that was rejected as well. Fiala has a chance that's saved before the end of the first period. So it's 2-1 Minnesota after one. A lot of shots, 25 between the two teams in that first period. We go to the second. Early Wild power play. There was a shorthanded chance for Nieto. The power play isn't successful. However, Cole scores from Hartman and Foligno at 3:36. So Minnesota goes to a 3-1 score on that one. The Wild then were going for another. Why not? Post for Parise. The shots were 6-4 for the Wild at 9 minutes, and it felt like Jones was kind of shaky in this game. And his last shot would be the one that Foligno gets from Hartman and Parise at 10 minutes and 48 seconds. So Jones is out and Dubnyk's in. But interestingly enough, with that goal added to the assist, and he had a fight in the first period, Foligno has now had 3 Gordie Howe hat tricks in his career. Gordie Howe had 2 in his entire career. So there you go. Marcus Foligno has had 3 Gordie Howe hat tricks. Goal, an assist, and a fight. Meyer then had a chance that was denied. However, a little over a minute after that goal by Minnesota, San Jose does strike back. It's Couture from Kane and LeBanc at 11:57. So it's 4-2, and I'm thinking, if they can keep it at 4-2, this game could still be touch and go, right? The Wild get a 4-minute power play, and honestly, the penalty kill from the Sharks was fantastic during that 4-minute power play. It was great. With 3 seconds left in that double minor, Brodin scores from Zuccarello and Rask at 17:25. Zuccarello continues the great play he's having. Brodin gets the goal after he'd had a play before that was busted. And it's 5-2. Then there's a late Sharks power play, which overlaps into the third. Early in the third, the Wild killed that off. So any hope that Minnesota was giving San Jose, it was just being drowned out moment by moment. Zuccarello, not on the bench, but he does return. So Zuccarello wasn't on the bench for a bit, but that was okay. He does return. You always have to worry with Zuccarello because he does get injured regularly, right? Kakkonen then lost a blade, and the play went on for a while while he was without a blade. And he wasn't throwing it at the ref or yelling and screaming that I could see. Just mentioning Rask in that one. Tuukka, not Victor, because Victor plays for Minnesota, so there you go. Dubnyk then stopped Bonino. No luck for Nick Bonino. In a game where Minnesota scores a bunch, still nothing for Nick Bonino. You're not allowed to have one. Goalie pull with 4 minutes and 25 seconds left, to which I said, really? You think you're going to get 3? I don't know. I understand they're playing the analytics game, but it looks silly. Because, of course, Minnesota scores into the empty net. It's Rask. He continues what's been a hot streak for him. He's actually starting to put up some points here. He scores from Cole and Zuccarello at 16:57. Maybe he saw my Nino Niederreiter video the other day, and he's like, why don't I get a video? So Minnesota wins this one 6-2. They go to 9-6. So they're 3 games above 500. St. Louis is 3 games above 500. So this is where things get interesting. And when Minnesota and St. Louis start playing each other, I'm going to be excited. For San Jose, that's a tough one. They dropped to 7-8-2. So the home schedule, that's going to be heavy. They have to win those home games or it doesn't matter. Shots were 13-12 San Jose in the first, 12-11 Minnesota in the second, 10-9 Minnesota in the third. Final shots, 34-33 for the Wild. Minnesota 1 for 3 on the power play. San Jose 0 for 3. So Minnesota's power play, which has been the bane of their existence this year, gets on the board again. Kakkonen saves 31 out of 33. Jones saved 16 out of 20 before he's replaced by Dubnyk, who saves 12 out of 13 in relief. So I'm not saying there's a goalie controversy in San Jose, because I think there's been one for years, and I think it's an ongoing discussion about whether it's the goaltending or whether it's the defense in front of them. My answer to that would be a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.